What's up, everyone? Just wanted to get on for a minute and say hi and just say a few things. As always, I like to start with a prayer. Father, thank you so much for the breath this day and everything that you bless us with. I pray that you continue to guide me and that the things that I say are true, and that anywhere where I'm not in truth, anywhere where I'm mistaken or in error, that it's pointed out and corrected, Jesus. And I just pray that your spirit starts coming over everyone and destroying these walls, pulling down these deceptions and lies that keep us separated from each other in hatred. I pray all this for your glory and in your name, Jesus. Amen. Well, I mean, to be honest, it's like one of the most important subjects or matters today, and that's why I keep talking about it. But it's really this division between so many different groups. To be honest, it's not even just white and black. It's Democrats and Republicans and the gay and straight, and no matter what differences you can find, you can go ahead and just make a group and then make a wall to start lobbing stones at the other side, and it's just getting to the point. It's so exposed. It baffles me how some people can't see it or refuse to see it. I don't know what it is, but that's why I feel like God's children are called to proclaim the truth and say these things, and not, it's not just Christians or anything like that saying these things, of course, but it's just the motivation why I feel the need to sit here and talk to my camera and post videos like this, because I believe that these ideas and these messages that are out and around these days matter, that they mean a lot, and we should definitely think more about what we support and about what we get behind, because it's been the case so many times, and I don't know how much it is, where you start asking someone about anything really, but about, in this case, the cause that they support, and it's scary how very little that they can answer about anything. And that doesn't matter what side you're on, man. It doesn't matter where you're at. You can go to a protest and ask them why they're protesting, and they can't even tell you why. Why are you pulling down this statue? Who is this statue? It's crazy if they even know what they're pulling down. But I just, this tribal group separating it, what it is, it's the culmination of a Marxist worldview and a Marxist plan where they can split up everybody into groups. The first time they tried to do it, it was between classes, between the upper class and the lower class. And, that worked to an extent for a time, but they realized that, some people have more pride in their nationality than just their, social class. So over the years, since World War II, the powers that be, I don't know who exactly to point the finger at, but it's been infiltrating our, especially our colleges and all that, our education system since then. But this intersectionality hierarchy that we have now is a result of years and years of this, years and years of this splitting this group, splitting that group, setting fires on this, setting fires on that, just a bunch of life, but taking it and looking at it in a worldview that causes hate and causes separation. I'm not trying to sit up here and say like there's a smoky room full of men with fedoras on deciding how each of these, should have said white men, right? White men with fedoras on deciding how everything goes in the world. I don't believe that's the case, but it's just the basic behaviors whenever they're displayed, whenever you do these basic things, this is the result of it. This is what happens. And it's slowly been penetrating to the fact that they don't understand that the very system that they're fighting for, these socialists in the United States now, which has taken over the Democratic Party, The Democratic Party bows to them now. If they had their way, if their system was in place right now, they wouldn't be allowed to protest the way they're protesting. They wouldn't have the freedom to speak out against the system that they want in place. They wouldn't have the same freedom that they have to attack Trump nonstop, 24/7 on nearly every single channel but one. And I mean, again, that's not a boo-hoo cry, look at all this. It's just the facts. We're going to have to step back and start looking at the facts and start calling out names and start calling out things, because it's got to a point where trying to be polite, just it's not working. And hard questions need to be asked, and all of us need to stop and think about what is the foundation that we stand on. In my last video, or one of the last ones, that's what I talked about. I wanted to present the foundation that I stand on. So if we have a conversation with each other and you start asking what I believe, why do I believe this, what's the rationale behind this, I can tell you all the way down to the foundation what it is. When I'm trying to have a conversation or talk to one of these people that I'm speaking of on the left that hate America, that want everything destroyed, that think the cops all suck and that they should be abolished, these extremists on the left side, on the left Democratic side. I don't believe they're even really Democrats, to be honest with you. I believe they're a more socialist thing, but that's what side they're on when I watch TV, so that's why I'm using that language to describe them. But whenever when they start being asked about their views and what they believe and how will this work, and if we take this to the logical conclusion, what happened? They can't stand on it. It's like trying to nail Jello to a wall. They won't even answer a simple question. They can't, because they have no foundation to stand on. All they have is emotion. And that's what's driving the whole thing. If you can't tell, look out your window and see the burning cities. You know what I mean? It's all emotion driven, and they want you to come to them emotionally. They have no facts or concrete stuff to stand on. None. Otherwise they would stand on it. Otherwise they would present it. It's to the point that it's so ridiculous that it just has to be called out. Look at these clowns right now. Pelosi and her clique right now that are playing such political games that the people don't matter. They stand up there and they virtue signal and they tell you how horrible Trump is for this and how horrible Trump is for that, for blocking the Chinese travel, for wanting to build the wall. They tell you how horrible he is, but they can sit up there and play political games that cost us, the American people, the very people that voted them and put them in office and pay their salaries. They don't care about us. They want power, and that's it. If you can't, oh my goodness, I don't understand without taking a side. I'm not saying, oh, look at this, come join Republicans, or oh, look at that, come join the Democrats. I'm not trying to say it like that, but just take a step back and look at what's been going on. Look at the fruit around some of these things. When you look at Trump, as much as you can hate him, around his presidency, around his administration, he had set records of record unemployment, record black unemployment. I mean, there's so much stuff there. I saw a list the other day of 75 of Trump's accomplishments, and 85% of it were stuff that you never even heard of, because they won't give him any credit for anything. But it goes from everything from prison reform to the tax rates to the economy to the deals with China and stuff that nobody ever questioned, that was costing us so dearly. And I mean, there's so many things that were good fruit. The things around him were happening. It was good for us. It was good for the economy. It was good for America. And you could see the fruit of it. It was good. Now, when we go and try to look at the fruit of the other side, of the Democrat side, what do we have? Accusation after accusation after accusation that never resulted in anything. A joke of an impeachment that was the funniest thing besides, if it wasn't so tragically sad, it would have been the funniest thing I ever saw in my life. It's such a joke, and they're so full of hatred, and now I'm starting to understand why. They hate Trump, not because he's a Republican. because all the other Republicans didn't catch that kind of hate. They hate Trump because he's not a politician, because he's doing the right thing for the America. He's not lining their pockets like the previous president did. By the way, everyone angry over this executive order Trump did to help people because the Democrats wanted to play politics. None of them, I didn't hear any of that. In the however many executive orders King Obama put down, but there was no problem ever with any of those, and those were ridiculous compared to what Trump did, trying to help the American people before their unemployment benefits ran out because the Democrats were playing politics and wouldn't do it. So he just wasn't going to let it fall and wasn't going to let it be used as a political tool against him. I think it was an awesome idea that he went ahead and did that, even though I really don't like the whole executive order thing. We live in a constitutional republic. We don't have kings. The president isn't all powerful. Obama should have never been able to do the things that he did, and I honestly don't agree with this in Trump, even though it was the right thing to do. I mean, you can't lie, but it's as far as being constitutional, that's kind of, it just is murky, and that's not what we need, man. That's another thing is we seem to have lost sight of what America is, what it truly is. To most, it's been turned into this ridiculous symbol of racism and oppression and white supremacy and all these things. What you don't understand is there was never any place like this, like America, where we can wake up and go outside and do what we want to do. We can make what we want to make. We have to do it through the right avenues, of course. But these are things that you can't just do in other countries. You can't just say what you want. You can't just go where you want, which, to be honest, let's look at reality now, where the great democratically ran New York City has just stopped that and made sure that you have checkpoints to come into the city and is locking it down. I mean, this is Nazi Germany. Everybody wants to look at Trump and say Nazi, 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 fascist, 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 while their elected leaders, the political leaders on the Democratic side that run these cities that are burning, are taking your freedoms left and right, and you don't even see it because you're too busy looking in the opposite direction. Again, I want to go back to the fruit. We saw what Trump's fruit was. Before the coronavirus hit, which is out of his control, his fruit was, everything was booming. He was doing good in so many different things while getting bashed by a party that would not help him in any way or whatsoever. He still got more done than any president in the last four combined. He's done more. And in real life, that's the truth of the matter. Is the man's been handling the job like nobody has in 50 years and not getting the credit for it. Just getting bashed because they hate him because that's their pocketbook. That's their pocketbook. You know, and now let's look at Democrat policy fruit, shall we? Take a look at New York. Take a look at Chicago, Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Let's start looking at that fruit. What's the fruit there? Homelessness off the scale. Fires, riots. How about these places where all this police brutality has been happening? It's always automatically just blamed on the country as a whole, right? Well, what's the political leadership of these places like where this happens the most? Can we ask that question? You know what I mean? We are at a turning point. We're at a crucial junction in the history of the United States of America, and we're fighting each other over the dumbest things ever, over issues that should have been put to rest decades ago. And honestly, half of the hatred is over deception. It's not even over true things. It's over perceptions and the way that things are presented and the way that things are said falsely and lies that are put out there, straight up just bald-faced lies that they'll just say with no accountability and no one to check these things. So we as American citizens need to start opening our eyes and opening our mouths and getting out there and proclaiming the truth. Because these, if some of these people get their way, if the I don't even like calling them Democrats because it's went so far left, they're socialists. If these socialists got their way, like I said, all this protesting, all these riots, all this we don't agree with you government stuff, it wouldn't be allowed. It'd be shut down. And you think that's a joke, but you need to do some research on this stuff. There is an example right now, a modern day example, Venezuela. Go look at some testimonies of people who lived through that, who lived through the socialists taking over there, and they'll tell you that's what's happening now. The same thing started happening. Inequality, boo-hoo, inequality between the super rich and the workers and this and that. And so the socialists were going to come in and make everything right. Research what it looks like now. This is what happens when you make man God. The government isn't in place to take care of us. It's not. This welfare system, we see the fruit of that. Look at the fruit of the welfare system. Look what it breeds. Look at the fathers that aren't at home. Look at the women with kid after kid after kid from different men after man after man for a check because the government supports them. I support them. And they're able-bodied people. They're able-bodied people who I support with my money. I got to drag my one-armed tail to work every day and work so my taxes can go feed able-bodied people who have just been brought up in a culture of generation after generation of people who rely on the government to feed them. After being told and sold this lie that they can't do it on their own because they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not able to get out there and provide for themselves. It's called the racism of low expectations, and it's sickening and it hurts. You don't have to just believe me when I say, look at what's happened since they implemented it. Look at the single motherhood rate since they implemented the government's daddy. And houses don't need a father in there to make sure the kids do right, do they? There's no consequences that come with that. We don't need fathers anyway, right? That's the popular thing today. Single mothers, yes, single mothers, they're the best. Everyone should just be a single mother. And man, that sounds so bad, like I'm trying to degrade single mothers, man. In no way. They are amazing, and I'm not trying to crush them because life happens and things happen, and it's not always the same for anyone. And in order to get to know anyone, you have to meet them, look them in the eye, and speak face to face. That's how I look at all life. I don't judge you by your color or anything like that. But for the sake of my argument in general, this is how I'm speaking now. So you just can't take a mother and expect her to be able to fulfill two roles that she wasn't made to do. A mom can't be a mom and dad. And a dad needs to have responsibility that if he impregnates a woman, then he is the man that takes care of that baby. This boy goes stick it in anything that moves and run off without any kind of consequences or worry about anything. Man, that's so low. Any man like that needs to really self-reflect because you're not a man. You're not a man. If you go get a woman pregnant and you don't take care of that kid, and again, you have to qualify everything these days. I know there's situations where the woman wants nothing to do with the particular man and kicks them out, does what they do. Look, you have to deal with that situation as it comes. Again, let's go back to the generality of things. Majority of cases are not that, are not the mom telling them, oh, I don't want you around. And it doesn't matter what that wants anyway. Whenever you have a kid, in my experience, to me, if you come ask me, come hell or high water, that kid is mine and I will take care of it. period. And I mean, that's how I was raised. That's how my dad taught me to be, by example. But, that's our children. I don't see how people just wash their hands of it. And I keep saying I don't see how people can do that. My heart hurts when that happens. I see how it happens. I can see how they do it. I don't feel like I could ever do it, but I was never put in a situation where, that was really ever an option. From the first time I saw my boys, my first boy and my second, there would be nothing that could separate me from them besides, being incarcerated or death or whatever that case may be. But that's a good place to stop and think about it, is our children, man. That's what we need to think about when we make all these decisions. We've got to quit fighting each other. I know I've said a lot of stuff on here that's definitely on the conservative side, and I know there's plenty that don't like that, but you have to understand that I'm calling out the things I see that destroy. And I'm not labeling every person out there who identifies as a Democrat under these things. That's one thing I don't like even about that happens with religion is you can't criticize any religion without it being perceived as you insulting every single member of said religion. That's not what I'm doing here. This is not a battle of race or, sexual orientation or any of that stuff. This is a battle of ideologies. And I'm gonna call out the wrong things that I feel are wrong things on the other ideology. And you know what? I expect the wrong things of my ideology to be called out too. I am willing to come together. I'm willing to tell you that I understand where you're coming from, because I honestly do. I've held both views of this side. There was a time when I would have loved to have been out there getting some free Nikes, burning stuff down. You know what I'm saying? I would have been right. Screw the cops. You know what I'm saying? But I don't feel that way now, and that's not right. It was never right. I would have never called it right back then, but I wouldn't have cared. I would have just got what I wanted, and that's a lot. That's what's going on now, whether you want to admit it or not. These cities aren't burning for George Floyd. That's long over. That's long gone. The cop that did it's arrested. There's justice being had in this case. But that's not what it is. That's just the spark that lit the gas. That's just the spark they used to ignite everything. And, I want to at least have other perspectives out there, Probably 6 people will see this, but I'm going to keep on proclaiming the truth because I believe that's what God has called me to do, and that's who I serve. So I think anyone who watched this, I know these things run a little bit long. I'll try to start shortening them down a little bit, but I hope everyone has a good day, and praise Jesus.